Hello to all of our webinar guests and welcome to Boston University's Genealogy Studies webinar. I'm Sarah. I'm going to be your moderator for today's journey into the world of genealogy, whether you're a seasoned researcher or just starting out. And today we'll be covering BU's 3 online courses and what you can expect from your studies with us. We will be conducting a live Q&A session at the end of our presentation today, so don't be shy and ask questions and join the conversation. And to do so, please use the questions box on your attendee control panel to submit questions during the Q&A session. And this webinar is being recorded, and a link will be sent to your email for your reference and to share with your networks later on. All right, we are delighted to welcome you into this academic forum today. So without further ado, I'd now like to introduce the Genealogy Program Director and Certified Genealogist, Melissa Johnson. Melissa joins us today with 17 years of experience as a certified genealogist, a national lecturer, author, and serves on the board of various genealogy associations. With a robust background as an instructor at respected institutions and a wealth of real-world experience, Melissa brings unparalleled depth to our genealogy program. So with that, I'd like to introduce you. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I'm so glad to see so many attendees here today and that we all share a love and interest for genealogy. I'd like to share a little bit about my own genealogy story to get us started, and it actually began when I was in grade school. My paternal grandfather, who you can see here on the bottom right with me as a child, became interested in genealogy when he was older and as he was trying to learn a little bit more about his mother's family. He didn't know much about her since she died when he was fairly young, but he used to babysit me as a kid, and we used to go through old family papers together that he was acquiring, and that sort of sparked my interest in genealogy. And he died just a few years after that, and when he passed away, my dad passed those papers on to me when I was just 11 years old, and that is really what started what would later become a lifelong journey into genealogy, first as a hobbyist and later as a professional, and now as a working professional and educator. One of my most interesting discoveries after many years of documenting my family history came after DNA testing became available to researchers. And it was then that I found out that my maternal grandfather, who you'll see pictured here with me on the top right, that his father was actually not who he thought he was. So diving into those DNA test results and being able to learn about a new family after I had documented his whole Polish line back to the 1700s was really interesting and something that I hadn't expected to find after many years of traditional documentary research. But DNA is now a very huge component in the genealogy field. A big part of my genealogy journey has also been Boston University's genealogy program. I myself completed the certificate program in 2011 and began teaching in the program a couple years later in 2017, and I became the program director 2 years after that in 2019. Currently, Boston University offers 3 distinct genealogy programs. We have our Genealogical Principles program, our Genealogy Practicum, and our long-standing certificate program. Genealogical Principles is a 7-week program that's geared toward helping improve genealogical research skills. So this program is called Principles, but it's not necessarily beginner or basic level. Most people who take the program have been researching their family on their own for a while and are interested really in learning more and also in ensuring that they're conducting quality research as they progress through their family history. So the course covers key genealogical terminology and concepts, and it also gives a solid overview into the genealogical proof standard. We also focus a lot on taking a deep dive into finding records of interest, where you can find additional records that you didn't know exist, and making connections within families with reliable research. And of course, the program also gives a basic introduction to DNA and how it is currently used in the genealogy field. The Principles course is split up into 7 modules over a 7-week period. It covers the key foundations of genealogy, dives into exploring additional records, takes a close look at analyzing those records to find answers to questions you may have about your family or your ancestors, and also covers proving conclusions using the genealogical proof standard as a guide. We also teach students how to transcribe and abstract records, how to become more efficient in planning out your research before executing it, and lastly, how to use DNA to solve problems in the genealogy field. The Genealogy Practicum is our newest course within BU's Genealogy Studies program, and that course was launched earlier this year. The course allows students to apply what they either already know or what they've learned in our other courses to actual real-world cases that they are presented with. So this course is 7 weeks long, and it includes 5 modules that are about 10 days long each. Each module presents students with a new case to work on, as well as course content that teaches students how to develop 5 key genealogical work products. So those work products are research plans, research logs, genealogical compilations, proof discussions, and research reports. So each week, students dive into course content that teaches best practices for developing those work products, while also working on a case and developing that specific work product that they just learned about to showcase their progress on the case. And our third program that I'm going to talk about today is BU's flagship program, the Certificate in Genealogical Research, which is an intensive 15-week program that covers a whole bunch of topics and is geared more towards intermediate to experienced genealogists or those who have taken the principles or practicum courses already. So this program has been running for almost 15 years, and it was recently revised to reflect new standards and practices in the field, but it still focuses on key elements like building skills, working with quality source material, and arriving at sound conclusions while you're conducting research. The first module of the course, Genealogical Methods, sets foundations for critical thinking skills and focuses a lot on the research cycle. So that's from planning to executing research. The evidence evaluation and documentation module focuses on analyzing evidence, determining how reliable information may be, as well as source citations. And we've also introduced DNA as its own separate 2-week module, focusing specifically on how DNA is used as a genealogical source, just like wills and deeds and military records, and how that source can be used to resolve problems. Our genealogical writing module focuses on writing up conclusions and communicating research findings in a way that meets the genealogical proof standard. And our forensic genealogy module covers topics that many are interested in the professional genealogy field, how to research living individuals, how to work on cases like finding heirs for probate and estate cases, and also identifying unknown parentage using DNA. Our instructional team includes some of the most well-known genealogists in the field. You may recognize some of these names. Many of them teach in multiple courses and even in multiple sections of each course, so you will have exposure to a number of instructors with different types of expertise in the field, as well as to a number of facilitators who are not included here, who also are well known in the field and who will provide feedback on your assignments as you proceed through the course. And I am going to pass it back over to Sarah to talk a little bit about course logistics and upcoming schedules.
Great, thank you so much. All right, so our course logistics for each of the 3 programs are listed here. So the approximate time commitment for each course is really dependent of individual knowledge or learning styles and experience in the field, but some ballpark hours for genealogical principles are about 10 to 16 hours a week. The practicum is around 12 to 14, so somewhere in the middle there. A certificate program does take the most time, and it's estimated between 20 to 30 hours a week. The communication style for this program is via discussion boards and internal messaging systems with your instructors and your various classmates. The course is asynchronous, yet instructor-led, so meaning classes do not meet at a set time and students can sort of learn on their own schedules within a certain designated time frame. And the modules within each course open and close so that you can progress as a cohort and stay on schedule with the rest of your group. The online class platform is Blackboard, and this is where students will read their course content, read outside assignments, and respond to online discussion questions and complete written assignments, all within this platform here. And the program schedule for 2024 is as follows here. So the principles and certificate courses are held 6 times per year, and that's every January, May, and September as part of session 1. And as part of session 2, for both principles and the practicum course, that's held every March, July, and October. Practicum is held only 3 times per year, and you'll see that also listed on our website. So the next session that we're enrolling for is the spring 2024, as mentioned, and the enrollment deadline is quickly approaching for this one. That's January 5th, and the class does begin on January 16th. For those solely interested in the newest genealogy practicum course, that session will start up on March 12th. And the tuition for each course is listed here on the slide. And of course, for more information, you can go to our website for full details at genealogyonline.bu.edu. We do have a few different payment options that students can take advantage of. We do offer monthly payment plans up to 4 months. There is employer-funded payments and approved Sallie Mae Smart loans, as well as military benefits for those who may qualify. All right, so that now brings us to our Q&A session. So please be sure to use your questions box on the right-hand side of your screen to ask questions about either the course or genealogy research in general. We do have a large audience joining us today, so we'll certainly be able to answer as many questions as time allows for us. So let's dive right in and start with some questions here. Okay, I haven't seen any come in yet, so one moment. Okay, so first one for you here, Melissa. Are there many professional genealogy associations or any that you may recommend one to join?
Sure. So the main professional association in our field is the Association of Professional Genealogists. So that's kind of the umbrella organization for anyone interested in being a professional. But they also have chapters and special interest groups as well. So if you join the National Association of Professional Genealogists, you can be part of more local groups as well, and groups that are specialized to maybe something that is of interest to you, like forensic genealogy or like genealogical writing. So definitely that would be the group that I would recommend.
Great, thank you so much. Next question here. If I want to be able to do research, do I need to take all 3 courses?
No, I don't necessarily think that that's always the case. There are many students who proceed through our courses, taking principles and then practicum and then certificate, and that certainly is a great path to follow. However, if you have had other education, if you've been researching for a very long time, if you're researching at a high level, maybe you wouldn't want to take principles because you have that foundational knowledge already, and maybe you would want to start with practicum or start with certificate. The other thing that's really great about practicum is it's just a great course for anyone who likes being challenged and working on cases. So we have many students who have taken the certificate program who have taken practicum just because they like working on those cases and really challenging themselves. So it really depends on what your background is, how you would sort of enter one of our courses. But we do have a quiz online that is helpful in terms of placing you in the program that would be the best fit for you.
Great answer, thank you. Next question here. Are there good job prospects for those following the completion of all 3 courses?
Sure, so that's a great question. So most professional genealogists actually work independently. They are entrepreneurs, or sometimes there are, partnerships, but most people are interested in taking on clients, and the majority of professional genealogists sort of work independently, have their own LLC or a sole proprietorship to do that. However, there are larger companies that employ genealogists like Ancestry Progenealogists or like Legacy Family Tree, and they have job openings very frequently. There also are people who do work with the military, with different government agencies, perhaps work for attorneys' offices. So there are a lot of different options out there. I would say the majority work independently, but there definitely are alternatives as well.
Great, thank you so much. And are you able to give some insight into the platforms used for the courses, such as Family Search or Ancestry?
Sure. So the course provides a institutional subscription to Ancestry Library, which is what we have students use during the course. So everyone gets access to that. But there also are assignments and assessments and challenges that you'll have in the course that require use of a lot of free sites. Family Search is one of them. Of course, just general searching on Google, looking at catalogs for, say, the National Archives. So we give you the main sort of resources that you need, but a lot of the resources that we use are just available to everyone. But there's nothing specific as far as subscriptions that you would need to purchase to take any of our courses. There are books, but not subscriptions.
Perfect, thank you. Next question for you, Melissa. Will students be able to interact with one another through the messaging boards?
Yes, so in our principles course and in our certificate course, the message boards are a big part of the curriculum. We encourage interaction among students. Some of the assessments or some of the assignments assigned to you involve posting on a discussion board and engaging with your fellow students. The practicum course is set up a little bit differently. We don't use discussion boards in that course because you're all working on the same case, but you may not all be working at the same pace. So we wouldn't want one student to say, see a discussion board post that has information in it that they haven't yet found on that case, and having that potentially kind of spoil the challenge of the case for them. So we have a lot of live classrooms and office hours in the practicum course that sort of serve as your way to engage directly with the instructors. But we try to keep a little bit of a buffer there from student to student, just because you're all working on the same case and we don't want it spoiled for anyone. For example, even if you've heard another student say, I'm having trouble finding reference to Mary's second marriage, but another student wasn't at that point yet and didn't know Mary had a second marriage, that could kind of spoil things for you. So we do limit some engagement between students in practicum just for that reason.
Great, thank you. I think this question is sort of a follow-up based on what you were just describing there. This person's asking, in principles, is there group-based projects, or is it mostly individually done? And I think you sort of touched on that, but if you want to just hone a little
Sure.
bit on.
So the assignments that you're given and assessments that you're given are sort of styled as papers and quizzes. Those are individual, but there aren't really any team or partner assignments, but there are discussion boards where you participate and interact with fellow students on certain topics. And then we also have what we call the water cooler, that is a more informal place where you can, talk with students about just things that are going on, current events in genealogy, things like that.
Great, thank you. Next question is, what types of jobs would be a good fit for someone with a genealogy background? If you want to maybe just give a high-level summary there.
Sure. So many people are researchers. So the majority of people who work in the genealogy field, they take on clients and conduct research, but there also are genealogical writers and editors. There are people who develop software related to the genealogy field. Many people help to sort of publish books or plan family reunions. And then, of course, there are people who specialize in things like adoption or researching adoptees' biological families using DNA, or working with attorneys on estate or probate cases. So there's a lot of variety there. The majority of it is focused around conducting research, but the research may be a little more specialized. And then, there are genealogy products that are sold at conferences and things like that. So there's a lot of kind of moving parts within the field, but I would say most people who work in the field are researchers.
Great, thank you. And this next question and a few others that sort of echo the same sentiment are about having a background working with DNA or some sort of genealogical research, but not much experience actually with genealogy. Would you recommend the principles program to start, or would it be better for these folks to get additional experience outside of the BU program beforehand?
I think that the principals program would be a great place to start. There are a lot of people who have a science background, but you need to understand the science and how DNA works, but you also really need to understand the documentary side of things. So the principals program gives a great overview of that, and then also introduces how DNA fits in as well. So it would be a great program for a lot of people coming from a science background or a law enforcement background who are interested in putting those two skill sets together.
Great. And do you recommend folks take the courses in the specified order, where principles, practicum, and then certificate?
So that is a great order. If you are at a place where you should start with principles, that would be the great order to go in, would be principles, practicum, certificate. There are some people, like I said, that maybe they've already taken other coursework that's similar to principles, or they have as an extensive background that they don't necessarily need principles. And in that case, you could take practicum or certificate. But if you're starting with principles, we definitely recommend you do principles, then you get the practical experience, and then you enter our certificate program.
Thank you. This person's saying it seems like there might be some overlap with the principles practicum and perhaps certificate program. Is that the case? And any suggestions if so?
It's very little overlap. So, we may talk about the same topic. So, for example, we cover research reports in the practicum program, but then also in the certificate program, but we cover them at a different angle and sort of look at them with a different lens. So they are meant to be courses that students can take all three of them, and there's not significant overlap. So, whereas one might be diving into kind of basic concepts, like for example, the DNA element of the the principles course is basic, and then it kind of picks up a little bit more in the certificate program. So they are meant to complement each other.
Great, thank you so much. This person asks if we still have discounts if you're a member of certain genealogical organizations, such as the National Genealogy Society. And I can answer that, yes, we do. If you go to our website, there is a drop-down tab for association discounts, and you'll see the codes that are used there. It is a 10% discount. And some of the organizations do require you to contact them first, and if so, it will be noted there for you to contact. All right, next question. What is the estimated necessary time commitment beyond the classroom for these different courses?
Sure. So it really depends a lot on where you're coming into the program. So we give students a range. And Sarah, I don't know if you can go back to that slide.
Of course. This one.
Yep. So, we do estimate, a range, and the range is kind of presented here are dependent on experience and also dependent on, if you're very comfortable with, say, for example, Microsoft Word, and you know how to do all of the footnoting features and things like that, you're maybe going to move through the course a little bit quicker than someone else. But generally, this is what we find that students tell us they have experienced in terms of the time commitment for the course, but it does vary a bit by student.
Thank you. And this person's just saying, just confirming the principal's course is entirely asynchronous. So if I'm on the West Coast and I want to make sure I won't need to present anything in real time on East Coast time.
So we have live classrooms and things like that generally take place like in the evenings, like 8 p.m. Eastern, but they are always recorded. So anything that is a live classroom session or a lecture, anything like that, you can always catch it later if you can't be there in real time. But we do try to stick to that 8 p.m. because that's at least a bit easier for everyone to attend no matter where you are.
Great, thank you. This person says, not sure if I missed it, but does the practicum course involve our own research project in addition to the module case studies?
No, so you are given a research problem. The whole class is working on the same research problem. So you're given a problem to work on for the week. For example, find the parents of this particular person, or determine the identity of this man who was in this place at this time. And everyone works on that during the week, and you are asked to present your findings using the work product that you learned about during that module. So you're given cases to work on. It's not your own cases.
Great, thank you. And a little advice here for this person. She's saying, I have a background as a forensic DNA scientist, though retired. If I completed the entire program, would I have enough training to help with law enforcement type cases?
A lot of students do follow that path, and then they begin doing that similar type of work. So this sort of sets the foundations to give you the skills to work on documentary sources and DNA, which is what you need for that type of work.
Great, thank you. Next question for you, Melissa, is about international versus US research. Does the courses cover both topics?
So our courses cover the kind of basic skills that you need to understand what sources are available for any particular geographic location or time period. So we do have assignments that focus on a variety of different areas and ethnicities and time periods and groups. So we have examples of both, US and international, but we don't, for example, specifically teach you how to do German research or how to do Irish research or something like that. Like, we teach kind of the basics for you to end the course knowing that if you got a case in German genealogy, or if you wanted to look into your English great-great-great-grandparents, that you would know where to go to find out what's available for that time period. So we focus more on the general methodology, teaching you how to find sources, teaching you what general sources are available, and helping you to move forward from there.
Great, thank you so much. And can you shed some light on how many students typically take each of the classes, a ballpark range?
It really varies by semester. Sarah, you might have more of a basis of that than I do. I know, we've had semesters that have had, anywhere from 60 to 75 students, semesters that have had over 200 students, but we break you into smaller groups. So you don't necessarily interact with 200 students or even 75 students. You're interacting with a set group that we try to keep at around like 30 students or so. So you would be part of that particular group, even though you are part of a larger course overall.
Perfect, thank you. And if a student achieved a low mark in, say, the principal's course, does that then influence successive courses?
It has no bearing on starting another course, but if that were the case, what I would probably recommend is before starting the certificate program that the student either takes the practicum where they can actually apply some of the skills they've learned and maybe refine some of those skills, or that they get some real world experience between taking principals and taking the certificate program. So maybe a year or two buffer in between there to maybe take some other online courses, or to really practice those skills on some pro bono cases, or volunteering for your local society, maybe spending some time at a genealogical society or historical society, helping out and getting some practice there.
Great, thank you so much. All right, next question here. I cannot find details of my grandparents, all who were born in Germany between the 1860s and the 1870s. Do any of your programs teach research in European countries other than England?
So we don't teach specifically, like I said, how to do German research or how to do a specific, kind of research. We teach more the general skills. But there are institute courses out there where you can take a week-long course on how to do German research or how to read German handwriting, or things like that. So I would definitely maybe look into one of those as well as our programs.
Great, thank you. And just to answer this one out loud, even though I know we have Amber on the back end answering, this person says, I haven't taken a class in a long time, but I do love learning. Do you think this is okay? This is for someone who is almost 60, and can I keep up?
Sure. So I would say a lot of our students are people who, recently retired, have always loved genealogy, and now they have some time to, devote to learning more about it. So you definitely would not be in the minority in, taking the course. We have a lot of people that have not been a student for quite some time who successfully take our courses.
Great answer, thank you. And is the class mostly reading online, or is there online teacher-led sessions as well?
It's both. So, our courses, we do have reading lists and reading loads for every module. So you will read our course content, you will read content in the books that are required for that particular course. You will interact with your teachers in lectures, live classroom sessions, office hours. You'll interact with students on discussion boards. You'll have assignments to submit. Those are kind of like papers. You may have assessments to submit, which are more like quizzes. So there's a lot of different types of interaction with the course.
Great, thank you so much. Let's see here. In the certificate course, will I be required to visit local repositories?
You will not currently. We used to have an assignment where you visited a repository, and we had to, of course, get rid of that during COVID. And because a lot of repositories have not bounced back to normal operating hours, sometimes they have long appointment wait times. We haven't, reinstituted that particular assignment, and with the course revision that was recently done for certificate, we have, sort of created different assignments that have the same learning objectives. So in short, currently, no, you would not have to visit any repositories for the course.
Great, thank you. This person's asking for clarification. There is no assigned time for each class, rather requirements are for posting on Blackboard. I believe that is yes for the most part, correct?
Yes, so there are due dates for assignments. There are dates when you move from one module to the next with your cohort, but there isn't anywhere that you have to be at a specific time. We do have, like I said, those lectures and live classroom sessions that are at a specific time, but they are always recorded. So if you can't be there in person, you can always watch them later.
Great, thank you. This person says, I finished the principles course in 2018 before the DNA component was added. Could I take the new practicum without the strong DNA portion?
You could take practicum. So practicum is not, there are some of the cases in practicum have a DNA element. So they do require like a small understanding of DNA to go into it. But I think, yes, if you took that course and had maybe some DNA knowledge from maybe some webinars you've attended, things like that, you could successfully take the practicum.
Great, thank you so much. Next question for you. I have hit a few brick walls in my research. Will the principles course give me the skills I need to go beyond these challenges?
That's absolutely why many people take the principles course, is to sort of take their research to the next level, kind of figure out what they don't know quite yet. And a lot of people do find that, they learn a lot that they can apply to their own research, and that they have additional findings when they complete the course or during the course.
Great, thank you. And a couple of people have asked some iteration of this question, so we'll just clarify. Is this a degree program or just a certificate program?
So the 15-week course is a certificate program, and the other courses are just 7-week courses. You're issued a grade in the certificate program. The practicum program is it's just pass fail whether you submit your assignments.
Great, thank you. Next question, this person asks, out of curiosity, why is there a need to interact with other students on message boards to complete the course?
So some of the message board content really is, taking a look at a problem, say, for example, or and giving your take on how you would explore it. And so it's good to, get your thoughts out there and share with other students, but also to see what other students might say. And then also some of the discussion board content is, intended to get you thinking about like real world situations and how they might be handled in different cases. And not everyone has the same real world situation. For example, there might be 5 and we split it by the letter of your last name, so everyone gets to sort of see what how other people responded to the other questions without having that question themselves. So it's just another way to learn and to think about how you might handle certain situations.
Great, thank you. You might have answered this previously, but a few other questions sort of aligned to this. How challenging is the principles class for a chronologically advantaged computer novice?
So the main thing is being able to go into the course about a week early, figure out how to navigate the Blackboard system, which is fairly easy. You know, there's a section for your messages, there's a section for discussion boards, there's a section to submit your assignments, there's the place where you read the course content. So it's all on sort of like a left sidebar, and it's fairly easy to navigate. The other key skill that we want you to have, for, and especially so for practicum and for the certificate program, is just being able to use Microsoft Word and its basic functions, like footnoting and being able to indent and, you know, insert an image and a caption and things like that. So that's kind of the bulk of it.
Great, thank you. There's a couple questions on grading. I'm not sure if we touched on that yet. So this person's asking, how are we graded via this message board? They don't have a ton of time to hang out in chat rooms, so this is of a concern.
So there are no chat rooms. The message board is something that, you know, you can go on whenever you'd like and post your answer to whatever that message board is asking of you. So it's not somewhere that you have to hang out and wait for a response. You know, you would post your response and then you could check back a day later and see if anyone responded to you or had a question. And if you are required, if in some cases you're required to not just post your own message, but to respond to, say, one or two other people's messages, and you can do that at any time. It's really just making a post. It's not a chat room where you have to have kind of a back and forth with anyone. It could be a day later that you have a response. And the grading for that, usually the message boards are a small number of points in comparison to the actual assignments and assessments, and you know, you're mostly graded on whether you submitted something or not.
Okay, great. It looks like that does bring us actually to the bottom of our questions log here today. If there's any lingering questions, please get them in now and we'll be sure to answer them within the next couple seconds or so. Okay. We have one last question I think we might have missed earlier. This person's asking, is GED match in the intricacies of how that sites work a part of the program? I think I said that right, GED match.
Yeah, it's actually GEDmatch, but that's okay. We do discuss GEDmatch in the mostly in the certificate program. So, you know, we talk about it and we have some course content on that. So you will learn about GEDmatch in our programs, yes.
Great, thank you. And the next question that came in, is there consistency on late policy/grading for all instructors in the practicum and certificate course?
Sorry, I was muted for a second there. There are points lost for late submissions, and we can only take late submissions for so long because the course does move from, you know, one module to the next. So if, you know, if there's something that has to be late, you would lose points if it was late by a day or two, but if it's going to be more late than that, you know, it's not something that we would be able to accept. You know, if there's a reason like a medical issue or something like that, you know, we can always look at having a deferment to another semester. But there is a policy for how many points are lost and how long you can submit an assignment after it's due, because the instructors do change from week to week.
Great, thank you. A couple more questions came in here. How do employers assess grades received in these courses if we choose to enter the industry professionally?
So a lot of employers look very highly upon our program. Some often, you know, require our program as, you know, prerequisite for employment, or at least, look favorably upon it as opposed to a candidate who didn't have it. So, our program is really one of the only ones like it in the field. So, it is not a certification, but it is looked very highly upon.
Thank you. Next question, do you see a lot of research work in the Midwest, just speaking geographically?
Does the course include that, do you mean, or maybe they can?
I think this person means professionally if they were to, go through the training.
So there's research opportunities everywhere. So, there are always people looking for researchers in the Midwest and, the Mid-Atlantic, everywhere. So, obviously there, were people there at some point in time in the past, and those people have descendants, and they may be interested in research. So, yeah, there definitely are, areas like New York City that obviously a lot more people were in that probably have a little bit more of a need, but definitely there's people who specialize in Midwestern research for sure.
Okay, great. And just an advice question here for you, Melissa. This person's asking, how do I verify the census records that list only ethnic backgrounds, such as age and sex, that they're actually my ancestors or just someone with the same name?
That's a great question. So the census enumeration, sometimes we find someone with multiple people with the same name. We don't know which one is which, and we need to look at other sources. So can we find a marriage record for that person and match it to the wife that he's listed in the census with, and who's the parents listed on that marriage record? So often, the census isn't enough. You have to kind of expand beyond that and look into other records and sort of see the overall picture of what makes sense and what the overall evidence suggests. And our course does teach you how to pull all of that information together and come up with a good strategy and plan for planning and executing that type of research.
Okay, great. And our last question for today deals with someone who might be away when taking the class. Do they need to have their notes and records handy for their genealogical research in order to do the work for the class?
No, the class work doesn't really depend at all on your own research. If you are going away, you probably would want to take your books with you, though. That's the one thing I would say you do need to have, would be any reading materials required for the course.
All right, great. Thank you. Appreciate everyone submitting their questions today, and thank you all again for spending your time with us this afternoon. And we hope this webinar has helped fuel your passion for uncovering your family histories, and we hope you consider joining our upcoming spring sessions where we can continue this enriching genealogy exploration together. And with that, we hope everyone has a pleasant afternoon. Thanks so much.